The golden days of gaming are far gone, leaving us with decades filled with disappointments. The worst part is losing your money when you have the hope of these games succeeding, only to see it fail miserably after a lot of hype. We present you with a list of the top 10 games that could have been better. Anthem. The game Anthem is one of the most hastily assembled and poorly planned gaming experiences in existence. Its stat systems are poorly communicated and throw away decades of knowledge and experience on how action RPG manage stat characters. As a BioWare fan, it is tremendously disappointing from a storytelling perspective. However, some fans might have a great time painting, flying, and causing mass destruction in their Colossus. It feels like a piece of a much more extensive experience that is undercooked and needs more dev time, more thought, and more direction. Anthem is considered a failure because it was marketed as a AAA paradigm-shifting, industry-inspiring title. The game didn't meet the lofty expectations of EA, BioWare, or its fans, which is disappointing for a game that was an E3 standout a few years ago. Saints Row 2022. The second game on this list is Saints Row 2022, which left many fans disappointed. Despite an incredible new world, this new Saints Row turned out to be messy and devoid of any of the charm or soul of the previous games. If you've played the other games, you would agree that the original was awesome. 2 and 3 were great, and Get Out of Hell was pretty cool. However, Saints Row 2022 felt like a step back with an identity crisis, both from the fun and personality factor. It is like a regular old open-world crime game without any nostalgic feelings. There is the character of 3 roommates, building a grand empire and trying to take over the town. The game leans on this group dynamic. Unfortunately, this roommate-to-gang group thing did not work out for most people. Everything here pales in comparison to what the Saints Row series is known for, from voice actor jokes to weird pop-up culture references. Battlefield 2042. On the number 3 position is Battlefield 2042, a game that was highly anticipated by game lovers. The biggest problem with Battlefield 2042 is not the bugs or destructive netcode. Those will be fixed and will not have a huge impact on the game. The biggest problem is simply the core gameplay. The maps are big, but enemies come from every direction and in large numbers. As an infantry, most of the time, the game is simply run, try, repeat. Maybe get a kill or 2 in there, but that is easier said than done when the guns feel so awful to use at any range. This starkly contrasts with the other BF titles, where a good squad could drastically impact the outcome of a match and consistently do well. The only time a player can do anything of value in Battlefield 2042 by themselves is in a vehicle. No Man's Sky. The 4th game in this list is No Man's Sky. The No Man's Sky concept is unique, but the problem is Sean Murray made the hype train bigger by promising hard-to-implement things, like multiplayer. This made some people call this game a game of the century, or the biggest breakthrough in gaming history. A lot of persons forgot that No Man's Sky is an indie game. It was too ambitious for even AAA to deliver. Another flaw was the game's mundane and repetitive gameplay. Although there are trillions of planets, there are only a few things to do on any given planet. The game lacks content. Many people dislike the universe's anticlimactic center, at which they were teleported to a new universe to begin the same journey all over again. When you think about it, the characteristics of each planet do not differ much, especially between planets of the same type. Animals look similar. For instance, every populated planet has dinosaur creatures and malicious spiders. Starfield. On our number 5 spot is the game Starfield, an exciting piece from Bethesda with a poor game design and shoddy writing. Let's just say that Bethesda took on this project where, unlike Fallout and the Elder Scrolls, they have complete creative freedom. The sum of their efforts resulted in a game where space travel is locked behind tens of hundreds of loading screens. There are no alien races, there are no meaningful factions, there's no viable evil playstyle. The companions are painfully dull. The game is set 30 years after a significant galactic war, and planets have boring terrain features. The landmine placement and enemy also seem to be precisely the same thing. Compared to the leading RPGs and open-world games of the last 5 years, and it is embarrassingly shallow. Skull and Bones. Bringing us to the 6th place in this list is Skull and Bones, which doesn't quite meet the expectations of an AAA game, at least not at launch. The title relies on dynamic naval combat and pointless walks on land. Skull and Bones is a repetitive live service game without a real storyline. It has limited ship styles to choose from. Also, the constant event pop-ups are annoying and completely remove any immersive playstyle. Apart from the large land and waterscapes, neither the naval battles nor the visits on land offer any entertainment. What Skull and Bones does, it does well, but it doesn't aspire to be the definitive pirate game. Perhaps the ultimate pirate ship game would be a title more in line with what it offers. It doesn't provide anything new or even the basics of what people want from an ambitious pirate adventure. Fallout 76. The 7th game on this list is Fallout 76. At launch, Fallout 76 was bad. The worst part was Bethesda's strange idea that NPCs weren't needed and that the players would be the NPCs, or something like that. It was also rushed, and most of the game was obviously recycled assets from Fallout 4. Aside from the bugs, false promises, and ridiculous microtransactions, the game is boring. The multiplayer element is okay, but it doesn't stand out from other games in any way. Although Bethesda has worked hard to make it less of a dumpster than it was at first, Fallout 76 is still far from being a great game, but it is closer to what it should have been at its initial release, especially with the introduction of the Wastelanders DLC and now the themed seasons. Meanwhile, the Wastelanders are slightly disappointing in a few ways, such as the amount of new content quests added. Reintroducing voice-acted human and ghost settlers into Appalachia was a vast and necessary improvement, and a new major questline sure doesn't hurt. Cyberpunk 2077. Moving on to the 8th place is Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk is a piece of bug fiesta with slow gameplay. The guns don't feel good, the hacking and all that other stuff is mediocre, and the driving is so bad. The story is slow, the characters bug a lot, and there's always a second of waiting for a character to finish the sentence so the lift can start. The characters are simple and honestly pretty boring. The major disappointment felt by gamers can be traced to dishonest marketing. The company promised it would be an in-depth role-playing experience. Instead, it's a futuristic Far Cry with light RPG elements. Gamers expected it to be a next-generation open-world experience. Unfortunately, GTA 5 from 2013 was more advanced compared to it. The base console version has terrible resolution and lots of bugs. This version of the game was hidden from everyone before release, and this isn't very pleasant. Suicide Squad. On the 9th place, we have Suicide Squad. There was so much potential with Suicide Squad. Kill the Justice League. Mostly, it's a fun game with a fun story. Unfortunately, it falls short with repetitive missions and gameplay. Suicide Squad is a mediocre loot shooter based on solid technology with precise gunplay and cheap humor. Its story holds it up until you reach the endgame, which rehashes the mission structure you've already experienced. Though Metropolis is a fun city to explore and with plenty of Easter eggs to find, there just isn't much here to keep the players going for an extended period. On the 10th place is the game Evolve. Evolve's failure was down to a large variety of issues that all combined to kill a game that had great potential. The game was initially marketed as a fast-paced action shooter when the actual gameplay was much slower and more tactical. This meant that when customers finally got their hands on the game, it created a disconnect between what they were being told and what they were being sold, which turned a lot of people off. When the game had many early problems, putting more things for sale in the store while seemingly ignoring those problems once again upset these players. It made the store seem like the more important part of the game. Evolve suffered from a lack of early content. It launched with only 12 hunters and 3 monsters, the rest behind a paywall. This again created the feeling among customers that the rest of their game was being sold back to them. The DLC characters also suffered balance issues with unique abilities, making the game feel pay to win. Which of these games had the most hype? Let us know in the comment section. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next video.